you feel it? Can we try again? Wonderful. Keep going. Wonderful. Now I'm going to let it fall. You just let it fall. Beautiful job. You did a great job. That was great. So if I'm looking at your arms, this one's hanging down a little bit lower. So we're going to even you out. That was wonderful. You could feel the difference? Yeah. Go ahead and give it to me. This is wonderful. And here we go. Great. This is a good sign for you. There. You lost it there, but really beautiful. You're doing great. Be careful. You're doing great. It's like when you start, I can almost see you start to think about it. You know what I mean? Like the first time you were just letting it happen. Great. Try to let it go. There you go. And then we're going to let this one fall too. This was a little bit harder for you that side as you got to the top. Okay, so I would like you to try to play. Just notice how your arms feel now. Notice how your breathing feels now, and try to do all the things that we talked about. Beautiful. Try it again. Take in more, and I think you forgot about your, because this was a little bit like this again. Take a look at what you tend to, you have to be careful there. About how your arms feel now holding the flute.
It's weird. They feel less heavy.
Okay, good. That's good.
It's like, I want to say more relaxed, but it's relaxed, but also something else.
Good. So you can do that on your own if you don't have a friend who can do it with you. You can just sort of let your arm. You can sort of lean over and just let your arm hang and try to get it to almost detach itself from the rest of your body and just be and then come up into your point of balance. I mean, those are really wonderful things that you can try to do to keep it. I think I want you to try again and think about all the things we've talked about. This is the one I feel like you're a little more timid about bringing into your playing. And if you could just pretend that no one's watching you and it doesn't matter what you look like right now, because this is not how you ultimately will look. I want you to have a lot of fun with this idea. Our bodies need to be in motion. We should never be totally still. And I don't mean you should be playing like this. That's not what I mean. I just mean that it should not be the opposite of movement. Non-movement is where you're going to create things like pain and injury and limitations, and you don't want to feel limited as a flutist. You want to feel like you can do anything, and the way that that's going to happen is by allowing yourself to stay in a constant state of some kind of movement. Let's try it again. Stop you. Sometimes I feel like you play that D and you're not really sure where you need to plant it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So if I'm going to go for that D, I know where I'm going to plant it. So I'm setting up. I know where my lip is on the flute. I know how the air is going to go. I know how open it's going to be inside my mouth. I know what my AO joint's going to feel like. I've got my breath. I worked on that, and I'm making sure that I'm not locked in the knees or the pelvis or anywhere. And it's pretty reliable because I've gone over sort of this checklist in my mind, which I don't have to go over anymore because it's just become automatic, right? So that for now, I think that's something that you do need to do. But I would say if you're finding that you start and it's not what you intended in terms of what you wanted to sound like, do it again. Because if you keep starting with what you know what's going to happen, right? So you want to always go for what you intend. How do you feel?
Better.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, just beautiful. Let's see if you can do it a few times. And I would say, Thomas, just for this experiment and just for this, for you to try to achieve this, I would say put the flute down. Start again. Put the flute down, start again. Put the flute down, start again. Because hopefully you're going to come to a place where you're like, oh, I think I know why it's not working. Maybe I'm tensing here, or maybe, you know. It's interesting because what I hear, well, do it again and then I won't. How do you feel about that one?
It was okay. I still feel like it takes just a hair of a second for my air to get going.
So I can't help but ask, what do you think is happening to your tongue? Have you thought about that?
Too much.
Okay, so you kind of have to leave the tongue alone. Keep it flat. Keep it like. No, wait a minute. I don't mean you shouldn't articulate that. No, you should, but that it should be a. Like, that's one of the things I know I need to do to get that D to be what I want it to be. If I curl that tongue up in any way, it's not going to do what I want it to do. I have to be like, it's very chill. So for me, Thomas, sometimes it seems like your commitment to the air coming out of the flute and the flute being on the lip in exactly the right spot, that's a little sketchy. Like, I'm not totally sure you know exactly where that is. Where when I play that, I know where it is. Does that make sense to you? And I feel like you're kind of like you're just not really sure. Where maybe you should know where it is. And I love thinking about how when I play that note, I'm coming from somewhere. It's like the sound has already been happening, and I'm just like, it's been happening in my mind the whole time. And then which is why I don't do this. You know what I mean? Where I say, prepare for the breath. You should be. It's been happening all along. Now it's just coming out into the world. But I know where I'm going with it. I know where it should be in my mouth. And what if you just thought, I'm gonna ground it a little bit more. I'm gonna just give it a little more center. Okay, good. Now think about your AO joint in your hips and try one more time. You can go on. Really beautiful. first of all, how does it feel?
Better.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way it sounded. The second something technical comes in, you just go.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things, which we all do, right? So one of the things that you want to really try to do is start there and say, okay, I need to figure out how to go into this and be loose. So I just want to tell you that one of the things that hooked me onto studying this body mapping is that I was Peter and the Wolf. And it was before my friend came, and she's the one who I learned it from, and she's now she's a trained body mapping specialist and does it all the time, and she's wonderful. And I did Peter and the Wolf, and I played it the way that I would have played it all the time, which would have been, I was working hard. It was good. It was hard, but just like I had to get it right. And then I took this class, and then I thought, oh my gosh, it's really working. It's really helping me. And then I had to go back and play Peter and the Wolf about 5 years later, after I had been introduced to body mapping, and I had no stress.
Yeah.
It was so easy, and I thought, I cannot believe I have ever struggled with this piece, and now I'm probably going to struggle as I'm trying to show you that I don't struggle. But here I go. I want to show you the difference in how I play it. And the difference is that, like, I'm okay with it. And it doesn't have to scare me in the fingers, where everything else that I did before was about getting it right.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is so dangerous. You know what I mean? I think we have to go back to, I've been studying flute for so many years. I've been practicing for so many hours. My body knows how to do this.
Yeah.
I just need to help my body get there. Does that make sense? So you got to this part, and I wish we had time to go into fingers and arms, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about there. But I think that, so this was one spot, the grace note. Sorry. Can you just say that? Good. So be careful that you're all set, so that, because that can sound much more clear and beautiful for you. Let me hear it. Beautiful. So right there. So think about for a second a different approach to playing with your fingers. Like, what if we didn't think about, oh, to get these notes out, I have to press these keys. What if we thought the opposite? What if we thought, oh, when I press these keys, the keys lift my fingers back up. And they're just rebounding from these beautiful light springs that my flute are doing. So if I sort of change my mindset, I can hear a difference in my technique. Try it again. So just take a second and go. Okay. Right, and think about the flipping off of the key rather than the pressing down of the key. Beautiful. Now think about your AO joint and everything else. Beautiful. There you go. Good. And Thomas, can I ask you one more question, if it's okay? Can I just ever so slightly take a look at what's happening here? Good. I want you to try to move. I want you to try to go ahead and try to get my AO.